Mina Aissatou Sise, we can U building, 8th floor, and Ministry of Information and Communication concerning the press briefing where the Ministry of Information and Communication can get every Thursday. Now the Ministry conference room. Right now we dey go inside the conference room, outside the press briefing they take place.
Once more, I'd like to welcome you to the Ministry of Information and Communication. Today, the update will be delivered by my humble self because our Honorary Deputy Minister is not around, so I'll take the opportunity to give you a few updates, and after the updates, we'll invite the Minister of Information and Communication, who will introduce to us our guest, who is going to brief the media today on the emerging issues. On this note, let me just bring you a few updates. The Honorable Vice President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Dr. Mohamed Julde Jallow, on Tuesday, that was on the 13th of August 2019, launched the country's new National Anti-Corruption Strategy, NACS, that will be delivered by the ACC in 2019 to 2023. The strategy was unveiled at the Miata Conference Center in Brookfields, Freetown, in the presence of foreign dignitaries, government ministers, senior government officials, the media, civil society groups, and other stakeholders. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Dr. Julius Maada Bio, is expected to launch the construction of the Connaught University in Kwedu City tomorrow, 16th of August 2019. It could be recalled as part of his nationwide thank you tour to the people of Connaught. He assured, that is His Excellency, assured the mammoth welcoming crowd of the possibility of a state-of-the-art science university in Kwedu City. In another development, His Excellency the President received a team of experts that was led by the Sierra Leone's ambassador to the United States, His Excellency Siddiq Abubakar Y, who are in the country for a feasibility study for the First Lady's Medical Center to be constructed in Sierra Leone. And this center, when completed, the medical center will be one of the most advanced teaching hospitals in Africa that will cater primarily for the Mano River Union, that is Cote d'Ivoire, Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, and will be affiliated to the international teaching hospitals. The Ministry of Information and Communication, in collaboration with International Cooperation and Development Team, yesterday, the 14th of August, held a day workshop on national cyber risk assessment at the Radisson Blu Hotel. The purpose of the event was to utilize information gathered from an initial picture of the cybersecurity risk to critical national information in Sierra Leone for the prioritization of future investment in building cybersecurity capacity in the country. The new Chinese ambassador to Sierra Leone, His Excellency Hu Zhelang, has on Tuesday paid a courtesy call on His Excellency the President, Dr. Julius Maada Bio, to discuss bilateral relations and development projects between the two nations. The Chinese ambassador extended felicitations to the President from the President of the Republic of the People's Republic of China, His Excellency Xi Jinping, who is said to be very impressed with his presidency, particularly in the areas of territorial integrity, sovereignty, and security and diplomacy. In alignment with His Excellency's human development capacity enhancement in Sierra Leone, the Sierra Leone Cable Limited, SALCAB, has launched a campaign to connect 500 schools and district libraries with free, efficient internet service. SALCAB has extended its services to multiple learning institutions, including Frobe College, Coma, IPAM, University of Makeni, and Jala University. The drive is not only aimed at bridging the digital divide in the country, but also laying the foundations to building a stronger economic diversification through innovation, business, model development, and emerging market opportunities. And lastly, the Minister of Mines and Mineral Resources, Fode Radoyoki, has debunked claims making rounds on news channels and social media about the suspension or cancellation of several mining licenses. According to the minister, he remains steadfast in his commitment to reviewing mining contracts, safeguarding and rebranding the mining sector to reflect fruitful outcome for the common good. He said recent activities under his ministry was not geared towards stonewalling mining activities in the country, but to revisit some mining agreements for the benefit of all. And that ends our update from the ministry. I'll now invite our Honorable Minister of Information and Communication to introduce our speaker for today's press briefing. You're welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to have you here again on this Thursday to discuss issues of national importance. As a ministry charged with bridging the communications gap between citizens and government, this Thursday press briefing has become a routine that we do. The only thing about the routine is that this time around we brought in provincial journalists. I like to use this opportunity to particularly welcome you who have had to travel all the way from Makeni, Gambia, Boo, Kenema, all over the place to be here. This, you could no doubt underscores the significance of today's session. With me here to discuss current and emerging issues is the Minister of Finance, Mr. Jusu Saffa. He needs no introductions. You asked me to introduce him. I would rather present him to the audience. You know, Mr. Jusu Saffa is a household name. He has been around here for as long as, he has been a development economist and a politician. During the campaign, many have repeated him for being the man who made economics simple to even lay readers, lay listeners. Many have called him the bread and butter economist, but I dare say he's beyond a bread and butter economist. He is a developmental economist. He is reputed by his peers, colleagues, at all the major multinational institutions around the world, beginning from the African Development Bank, ECOWAS Bank, the World Bank, all over the place. And he's won laurels for this country, even in a situation where we have inherited an economy which unfortunately my friends in the APC do not like me to refer to as an economy that was intensive care unit. Like I have always said, we have stabilized the patient. If it were a patient, we want to set it properly on the path to recovery. To discuss this and related issues today is Mr. Jusu Saffa, a lecturer, a development economist, a consultant, a political encyclopedia, and much more. So, the ground rules remain the same. We called you here so we can have an interactive session, but like I've always advised, we will ask respectfully that we think through our questions so that when we ask them, you are expected for having asked a bear twisting question. And let us ask questions that are clearly thought through, properly thought through, so that at the end of the day, we are able to deepen the discourse. We are able to add value to the conversation. On that note, I welcome you all and wish all of us very, very fruitful and revealing deliberations here. Mr. Jusu Saffa, I now have the singular honor of welcoming you to the MIC conference room, which you have paid for probably without knowing, so that you can talk to your people about the current state of the economy and the road ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Honorable Mohamed Ronaldo Soare, my colleague Minister of Information, and Communication. Okay. Again, good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. And let me join my colleague to welcome you to this important press briefing. Allow me to provide public education. Public education because economics is not every man's area. Economic realities are difficult to understand as long as the man hasn't got a job, he hasn't got income. But we will try as best as we can to establish the fact that we know what's wrong, our policies are right, and we are on the path of the turnaround. Turbulent as it may appear, but we think we can make it, and we are on course. Allow me to explain how the discussion will go. I'm going to start with the fiscal account. The fiscal account, sometimes called the current account of government. It's not the current account where you put your money, but it's current because we spend money from it. And the money of government is at the central bank. Central bank is a custodian of government resources. The fiscal account has two parts. You have the revenue, you have the expenditure. So what I'm going to do, I will tell you about the gains in revenue mobilization, then the policies related to revenue mobilization, so that you can see the trajectory. Thereafter, I tell you the expenditure, the policies in expenditure management. You can see the gains. You should be able to know the difference between today and yesterday. Thereafter, I will move on to the external part of the economy. We have looked. External part also has a current account, the part of it. But to put it simply, I will look at the inflows and the outflows of foreign exchange. How do we get foreign exchange? What do we spend foreign exchange on? What's our reserve position? What is the current situation in country? So that we have a clear idea of the source of the exchange rate depreciation that is translated into price increases and other things, and what we are doing to arrest it. Thereafter, I will go on to the important issues of inflation, which is going to be linked to that in a way. The issue of unemployment, the unemployment areas, why we are facing challenges, and some of the sacrifices we are making. Then I give you a message of hopes in terms of outlook. What do we expect our GDP to be like next year? It's important because if you don't have GDP, you have nothing to distribute. It's from your GDP you distribute. So it's important to increase your GDP. I will tell you what our expectations are. I will tell you also establish to you what our per capita income is and our per capita income was yesterday. Then I will tell you the portfolio of projects we have, how they be translated into positive things. Now, to begin with, the sources of revenue for governments, like the taxes and non-taxes. Then grants, either through budgetary support or from bilateral support anywhere. Budget, from any department. Somebody can go and give you $2 million, $5 million here and there. And taxes are a major source of revenue. And we collect taxes not only at the customs, but domestic taxes and several issues. We have royalties, we have these, that's a non-tax revenue here. I don't want to go to the details or the breakdown of the amounts we get from each and every tax. But suffice it to say that we are on target on revenue mobilization. Two indicators to show that we are on target. One indicator is that the last figure, January to June, we are very much on target. We exceeded our target by 213 billion euros. That is enough to see. By 213 billion euros. For the year period of 2018, we were able to increase our revenue GDP ratio. I'm going to give you correct figures so that you have not misquoted. What we give to you, for the year 2018, for the latest figures we have, we were able to reach up to 2018 percentage of GDP 15.8%. 15.8%. Just remember one thing: economics figures change from time. What happens at the beginning of the year, the figures you collect, they are subject to review, reconciliations. 3 months down the line, the actual figures will come out. But normally what happens is normally in decimals, 15.2, 15.3, like that. So the latest figures we have for 2018, which is going to be finally confirmed by this September meeting, puts our revenue GDP ratio at a very comfortable level. So we are able within a year to increase our revenue GDP ratio from a mere 13% or less to something very, very close to 16, which is a very good indicator, because that is a good measure of revenue. Another measure of revenue, okay, that's on the revenue side. Why has that been the case? First, what the government did was to change the leadership. We have a top-notch Commissioner General with a PhD in tax policy, who is the Chief Administrator for Revenue Collection. We did fill some vacancies that were very necessary that were not even filled before. There was a massive recruitment in NRA. We did some restructuring. It's a skill. Also, at the beginning of our assumption of office, right here there was an executive order number 1. The executive order number 1, among other things, placed a moratorium on tax concessions. And we had to, because we realized there was a lot of leakage relating to that. So we thought if we monitor this waiver, we should be able to mobilize additional revenue from that source. Then we have embarked on massive automation of the tax system. Automation including a web-based Asukuda system, the declaration, so that any importer can declare his goods online from anywhere in the world. You don't need to come to the NRA office and start filling forms here and there. Because our thinking is that the principle of automation is to reduce the interface, the human interface. As much as people, the taxpayer and the tax collector, should not see themselves, as much as possible. When you make them to communicate directly, the tendency for them to connive against the state is great. Sorry, the tendency for them to come together is what? So automation is very key. We are also on the verge of introducing the electronic cash register that will maximize our gains from the GST. As at now, the declaration for GST payments is not scientific. It's what the business people will tell you. But if you have a GST system linked to the national switch, anytime somebody buys, when they give the receipt, we know the purchases, the sales, the turnover from those agencies. We can't estimate and maximize gains from GST. So that automation is going on. We also have automations relating to the ITAS, Integrated Tax Assessment System, that will build the capacity of the NRA to assess taxing. So all those automation processes are going on as the Public Financial Management and Capacity Building Improvement Project in the Ministry of Finance is supporting those various interventions. By the time they come on board, we should be able to optimize our gains. But I will say that we as a government, we are still not satisfied with the revenue. We need to do more. To do more, to gain more, because we need more. And we think there's more potentials. Therefore, we are exploring, whilst we are developing, expanding the tax base, we are developing the tax administration. We are also developing the tax administration and expanding the tax base. Now, we are working with Statistics here, Leone, on the rent and income tax. We've realized a lot of people rent their house of $30,000, $20,000. They don't pay anything to government, except property tax to the local councils. Why do you tax a market woman and you do not tax house owners? The policy framework that's in place, the system that is in place is not sufficient. But the first problem we realize when we are getting to start, that we do not even know the house that will qualify for that. There's a policy that says houses of less than $1,000 equivalent will be excluded. So currently, the NRA is collaborating with Statistics Sierra Leone to collect that data, which gives us an idea of how many houses. Because commercial houses are more common in the provincial capital towns and free towns, this phase of the survey will focus on those big towns. Then we graduate it to other district capital towns. So that is going on. That is another source. We have other sources we're looking at. But let me just say some of the challenges we're facing in revenue. Though we try to rationalize the duty and tax exemptions, as at now, as I tell you, we've got a draft duty and tax exemption policy, because we don't want it to be the discretion of the Minister of Finance at all times. It's too much of authority, I think. I may enjoy it today, but of course, because I do not abuse it, it doesn't mean anything to me. But tomorrow somebody else is going to be there. So let's tighten it. Let's have a clear policy to be reviewed by cabinet and to be legislated eventually, so that you know the limit to which you can grant exemptions. And that should form the basis, because mining agreements and other agreements of different sort have got a lot of tax concessions. There are tax concessions under the Geneva and the Vienna conventions or what have you for diplomatic missions here and there. I mean, like for the American embassy or the World Bank office, they are building a house, a new office. They have to import most of the materials here. I mean, that's what they want. The quality of the materials, they got them from the US and the other places. We cannot tax those commodities. We allow them those tax exemptions. So we even have a breakdown of tax exemption granted to each of those agencies. So it goes to the relevant ministry. In the case of the diplomatic mission, to the foreign affairs, to the Ministry of Finance. They enjoy that. But apart from that, you have a lot of tax concessions to retail, to the mining companies, to manufacturers, to different ones under different laws. Some under the Finance Act, some directly agreement. As long as the agreement goes to Parliament, it's a law. So if a government comes today, you cannot go against that agreement. You can go in for renegotiation of the terms at a convenient time, as provided for in the law. So yes, we wanted to eliminate it, but we cannot. There is a limit to which we can go. So that undermines our effort somehow. But henceforth, the new ones coming, we are very careful as to how we give concession. And I'm proud to say, I don't know about any agreement I've given a massive concession since we came. All concessions we are providing now by just respecting the concession agreement that we have signed by the previous government. As at now, except the only concession we can give those that are already covered by the existing laws, because incentive is part of improving the investment climate. But specific industry concessions, specific mining agreement concessions, we've not have any agreement so far since we came, not to my knowledge. But we are respecting the provisions of concessional agreement that were signed by the previous government, and that's a big loss. We've analyzed some of them. If we are in office by then, we cannot go for that type of agreement. You know the instances of the mining companies for now. I will come to that in more details later on. But just to say, with respect to tax concessions, they are so huge. And not that they are just huge, that the disparity is so much. This company will pay this for this tax, this around pay this amount. It's like give and take. You cannot run a state like that. Given discriminate, you are very discriminating, selective way. You give somebody 75%, the other person pay 10%, depending on who pays more for the price, but for the deal. So basically, we've noticed some of these things. Some of them we thought we should start to review them, so that we can maximize our gains eventually. Grant resources, as I said, these are the budgetary support we get, and we've enjoyed quite a lot of that. We enjoyed about $40 million from the World Bank, the European $23 million. A few of that, they are used to support government operations. But I'm proud to say here is that, as I speak to you, 75% of government spending on both recurrent and development budget is coming from the revenue we collect. %75%. There was a time a few years ago, basically about 50% of government spending, only 50%, mere 50%, was funded from the state budget revenue. But now 75% of what we spend is coming from us. 15%, about 15% is coming from the partners, what we spend. But just to support, there are four mechanisms donors finance government. One mechanism is direct to the budget, you spending on what you want. Other mechanism is two projects. You see our projects, Caldepia, you see this project in information, this project, two projects, implemented by the MDAs. Other mechanisms, they give it to the United Nations agency, UNICEF, UNDP, UNFP, and so on and so forth. Of course, you have also some would go through the bilateral, the DFID, the European Union, they do that directly. Other mechanisms through the NGOs. So when you see a project implemented by Save the Children, supported by UK, it's a pledge UK has made, but the channel of delivery is through Save the Children. So as a country, you have the option to say, no, you have to give it to me, or you give it to Save the Children. But the policy will say, no, we support our NGOs. Somebody will buy the NGO because it's their money. That is the channel of distribution. So it's better the monies to come through these NGOs that we, the government, decide to do that. So all those monies do not come to the mainstream government account. What comes is the budgetary support. And budgetary support to any government is based on performance. If you don't perform, they don't give it to you. Before they give it to you, you agree with them. Before we came, 6 months down there was no budgetary support to the government. Absolutely. And I'm telling you, the first budgetary support we had was after 8 months of the relaunch of the IMF program in November. So which means we run the state up to November last year without a cent from any donor. It's only in November when the IMF gave the green light based on our performance and the relaunch of the program. The other $71 million, of $21 million from the IMF. That opened the door for other partners to provide budgetary support, including the European Union, the World Bank, and the like. World Bank started with 10 million, which was agreed with the last government. But we negotiated, we raised it to 40 million. Now we are expecting about 100 million. I'm pleased to report that the bank management has reduced that amount to 60 million 3 weeks ago, of a month ago. 3 weeks ago, I was in Accra. I've been able to renegotiate that to push it up back to 100 million. So by December, subject to a fulfillment of the agreed actions or implementation of the agreed actions, we will have 100 million budgetary support. So our next year budget profile is going to include 100 million expected money in addition to the revenue we raise. That is going to increase our envelope for development activities. So that's one other thing. And also another statement of fact is that as far as salaries are concerned, normally when the government hasn't got money, you don't have money in your CRF, you don't have budgetary support, no grant, no other thing. One way the government always raises money is to issue treasury bills, to issue bonds to both the banks and the public. That's what you call bank borrowing. Commercial bank borrowing. It is different from central bank ways and means. The central bank ways and means, since we came, there's a threshold of 5% of the previous revenue you can allow to spend. Let's say your CRF is 10 billion. Their last revenue is 5 billion. 5% of that, you can exceed your 10 billion which you have in your account. It's like an overdraft facility. That's the ways and means, which you normally don't use, but we have the facility for it. But we did not use that or go to the bank to issue treasury bills for salaries. We've paid salaries exclusively from the revenue we collect since we came, and we're going to sustain that. We can use bank borrowing for other things. For example, we wanted to complete the Tokelombi road. We have to issue bonds. Sometimes you can issue the bonds and get the money credited, or you can issue the bonds, rather you can issue treasury bills to the public or to the bank, or you issue bonds to the contractor. When you issue bond to the contractor, it's a promise you know that you will pay for 4 years, every month, every 3 quarters. They now are at liberty to discount it. So the worth of the treasury is $20 million or 20 billion. They can discount it for 18 because they want the money today, the present value of money. They can decide to wait. But that constitutes the domestic debt. Any bond is a debt. So we have, as a government, not be using borrowing of any type to pay salaries. We borrow for development projects. We reallocate, we issue bonds because we need to fix some of these projects. But we are paying them on a quarterly basis, on a yearly, monthly basis, as agreed with the people. So we are very much on course. We've also enacted the Extractive Industry Revenue Bill that spent about 3 years on the shelves of Parliament. That seeks to harmonize the fiscal regime of the mining companies. Henceforth, all mining agreements are going to be subject to that fiscal regime defined in the extractive industry revenue bill. So in terms of policy directions, key policy reforms include automation, restructuring itself, duty and tax exemptions policy that will be legislated eventually, extractive industry bill, revenue act has been enacted, and we've done to do the regulations. Now, expenditure. There are two parts of the current account or the fiscal account, as I said, the revenue and the expenditure. On the expenditure side, you have the recurrence part, salaries, wages, fuel, administrative expenses. Then you have the capital part of the budget. The capital part of the budget, the project, the roads, the health facilities which you construct, the drugs, the textbooks, all that things are part of the recurrent budget as at now. This government pays nearly 200 billion on the wage bill, including that of the universities. Recently, you realize we've mainstreamed the salaries of staff of tertiary institutions into the mainstream payroll. Also, the reason was very simple. Before then, you have a lot of strike actions by university workers because we are doing allocations to tertiary institutions because they are sovereign agencies. Because they are sovereign agencies, you give them the money, they decide who to spend on. We had evidence that when you distribute, we give 5 billion to universities, you prefer to pay some contractors and leave salaries of workers out. So you will say, if you allocate 5 billion in the month of July, you would prefer to pay contractors and did not protect for the salaries of workers. So come September, there's no money to pay salaries of workers. Because it was a black money tactics. So we say, no, this time, whilst you are paying ministers, police workers, teachers, tertiary institution will be paid. So we started it last month. We were trying to clean the records and finalize the record. We had some challenge with the University of Sierra Leone, but they were late to submit their documentation. So we held their salaries up until they clean their books before ever we decide to do it. But so far, all the institutions are on board. So naturally, that wage bill is different because there are some vetted agencies. Because before that was about 180 billion. So, but the point I want to emphasize, that's one area we spend money on. The other area which we spend money on is domestic debt service. When this government came, we inherited a situation of about 1.6, roughly 1.6, 1.5 something, but don't call it 1.6. Or call it 1.5 if you like. External debt. Then domestic debt, that is something there, something other thing there. No, $1 million. $1 million, yes. No, billion, yes. $1.5 billion. $1.5 billion. There about $1 billion we inherited. Then we have domestic debt of over about 600. They don't never keep the latest numbers I have now. These are the latest numbers. We have domestic debt about $660 million. $1 million leones. $1 million, yeah, $1 million. The domestic debt $660 million leones, dollars. The external debt $1 million. The external debt $1.5 billion dollars. So the external debt is far more than the domestic debt. The external debt owed to the IMF, the World Bank, the African Development Bank, the Islamic Development Bank, the OPEC, and the likes, international financial institutions. The DFI, the European Union, they give grant. The World Bank also give grant. And the good news is that since we came, over 60% of what the World Bank has given, including approval of the $230 million following the visit of the president, has been grant. They convert your loans to grant depending on your performance. Given the good record of this government, on the invitation of the president to the World Bank, following the World Bank meeting, 230 million worth of projects have been processed. 3-4 of them have been processed. Is that correct? About 3-4 of them have been processed. That's all. 2 more we will process in the month of September. Have been converted to grant. As I speak to you, about 60% or to 60-65% of agreements we sign are all in form of grant. And the ADB is also doing. Sometimes the ADB, what they do, they will give you, let's say, 10 million, they say 5 million is grant, 5 million is loan. So that's how some partners operate. But about at least 60% of the development projects which you've signed agreement for are grant. 40% are loan. So that has not significantly increased our loan portfolio. Now, most of the money we get, you pay your debt from the revenue you collect. Whether it's going to be dollars. There are two parts to the debt. There's what they call the principal payment and the interest payment. The principal payment are what they call the money. No, so we don't do take microcredit. No, so sorry for SO2 they call it parliament. Yes, the money you go towards 1 million. The money they know, so they have the interest payment. The interest payment is spread. So when you finish paying the interest, you still have to pay that money the back. No, so with 20% interest is 1 billion, so it's 1.2 billion. But the 200 billion will be spread. You have to pay that on monthly. So once you pay principal, we pay domestic debt and we pay interest. We pay interest on the external loan, the 1.5 billion now, 1.5 billion. We pay interest on that. Then at the same time, we pay interest on the domestic debt. The treasury bills, when the government is choking, it goes to the treasury bill, you pay interest on that. That's the most awful thing that is happening to us as a country. That interest payment. Debt servicing alone, the month of 2018, debt service revenue ratio went to 28.7%. And it's projected to be about 30%. So nearly 1/3 of the revenue we collect is paid out for debt servicing, including both principal payment and interest payment on both domestic and external debt. So which means any 1 million the government has, 300 million, any 1,300,000 is going to be paid out. Simple mathematics. Instead of using that money to take care of schools and improve conditions of services, you are paying the debt because government is in continuity. This was a country in 2007. Our debt situation was basically 250 million after the impressive debt relief program, where our debt was about 1.2. We were able to negotiate. The last SFP government, we brought it to a mere partial amount, $250 million. Now, by the time we left, by the time the last government left office, it went up 1.5 billion. And the interesting thing about this is that if you look at the debt figures, they increased between 2010 and 2014 astronomically. At the time when we are experiencing the highest growth rate in the economy in the world of 20%, also the famous talk, the highest growth rate. That's the time we contracted more debt. And the debts that are matured, we are now paying those debts. We are paying those debts. Currently, the domestic debt alone, that's the interest on the domestic debt, the treasury bills and the bonds. It's about 20% of total government expenditure. On average, because the numbers vary depending on the maturity of the debt, because every debt has got its own timing for payment. So it varies between 100 to 110 billion for the past 6 months, about that. So take it this way, 110 billion is paid as interest on domestic debt on a monthly basis. Every month you pay 110 billion. You can quote me. You have billion loans every month. And our collection of revenue is between 400 to 450 monthly. 400 to 450. We are very comfortable with 450 and above. We want to shoot up more than that. Because you're basically talking about, normally our revenue collection is also undermined by the several holidays. On average, what we estimate to collect per day is 20 billion. Sometimes it falls, sometimes it goes up, but on average, it's about that. So 22 working days in a month, because you only collect revenue on working day. You don't collect revenue on Saturday or Sunday. It's a working day. 22 working days, estimated revenue is 440 billion. But if you have a lot of public holidays, 5 public holidays, 100 billion is gone. See, the cost of holiday to government is nearly 20 billion. Anytime you have holiday, the government is losing $2 million. Direct from revenue, not revenue, money lost by private sector. That's why the few holidays we have, the better it is. Anytime they say holiday, I say, hey, I've never respected or rather disliked holiday than now. Straight away, what I say, oh, I'm losing 20 million. Oh, I cannot take care of expenditure in our culture. I cannot take care of expenditure information. On Monday, we lost 20 billion. Because that was a holiday. When you have Africa Women's Day, we lose. As long as it falls on Monday or Friday. Any day there's holiday, I got GT. I don't like holidays these days. Before I used to like. Honestly, I'm telling you, because I know the burden I have to take off expenditure. So our average collection, as I say, between 400 to 450 billion per month. Then we are taking 100 to 110. Imagine 100 to 110 is for debt servicing. Then 200 billion is for salaries. So you are talking about 310 or 300. Yeah, take it out with 310 billion. No, so? Per month. So if you say you are collecting 400 billion, you have taken 310. You are only left with 90 billion for that month. That 90 billion is what you are going to use for the entire government operations, including feeding of inmates, 4,000 inmates in prisons. That's what you are going to use to buy textbooks. That's what you are going to buy to pay DSAs. That's what you are going to use to take your foreign missions overseas. 22 embassies overseas, you have to take them there. We pay the electricity bill, we pay the rent where we do not have buildings, we pay the staff, the accredited staff, and the local staff. At the rates out there, if the minimum rate in China or rather in the UK is $2,000, you have to pay the minimum wage to them. The UK workers that are in the office, the High Commission, the High Commission. That's what is a regular business. And we pay them promptly because they are not like Sierra Leone where you have to wait. By the 30th, the next day you don't pay your electricity bill, they keep increasing it. So you don't risk it. We inherited quite a lot of that. As I speak to you, there's a huge backlog from US, which I saw, because they delayed. They've accumulated so much. So I just authorized that let's pay it and fix it up and clean our books quickly. But we have to pay for diplomacy. It's quite expensive because you need these embassies to lobby for some of these assistance. We have to follow up on some of these things. We have to pay for it. It's not like Sierra Leone where we can dodge extra for some months. We can do disconnections, you can do illegal connections. No, sir. You know that very well. It's all prepaid. If you don't pay, you don't get light. And you know winter what it means overseas. If you cannot get your ET system on, you are dead. Sometimes some ambassadors used to even take care and know that later on bill us if you don't want to be embarrassed. I've been to an embassy some time back where the ET system was not working. And that besides the rehabilitation of some of these embassies. We have properties in England that have been dilapidated for so long. I was just being informed we have about 7 or 8 properties out by England. Most of them are not used. That their conditions have become so terrible. Now we're trying to get some engineers that to go and work with UK engineers to assess them and see whether we can repair some of them and probably put them on rent so that they can give us some money. The visa collections in the past, the visa fees which people pay to come to Sierra Leone, they are collected by the embassies out there. The last arrangement, the last government, because they were not paying the dues to the foreign missions, they allowed them to use it the way they wanted. So now we are trying to introduce visa on arrival. Because I've been used to the old practice. You know, if you collect visa to come here, let it go to an account. The person can be given. You arrive here, you pay, they will set it to an account. To streamline it. That's one of the policy reforms we are bringing. In the area of expenditure, besides the salaries and wages, we also take care of goods and services put to central and local councils. Goods and services, stationery, any services, consultancy service somebody carries, you have to take care of that. You have to take care of capital projects. Yes, Kafala is here, he knows exactly what to pay for the roads project. Be it feeder roads, be it fertilizer, be it tractors, we come here to pay for all those things. They have the capital project, they have the foreign mission, they have the debt servicing. Debt servicing, salaries and wages basically account for, as I said, numbers vary sometimes, but between 70 and 80% monthly. So the government basically has something like 20 to 30% money to play around with for all these other operations. But the good thing is that there's a significant difference with us. We are using what we have. If you notice the way we're doing the roads project, for roads project, since we came, we've not got any new projects advertised. I mean, talking about we have major roads. It's all the old project because some of them government has started, the previous government started spending some money on, and there is some condition to abandon them completely. Where I saw, you have no option but to complete them, but doing it in a very systematic manner. Kind of mad that everybody knew was completely neglected by the last government. We have got few kilometers, about 7, was it 7 we started? We tried to even increase it. Now, both the same thing. Once there was not even a meter of tar on the ground. They've started it under difficult circumstances to fix the roads in the island. Matu was incompleted, but all these townships, Poloko, Moyamba, Pujo, at least they have some townships roads. In Freetown, you know the Babadore Road, the Atlantic Road out there, the rail line, what do you call them now, the Mukiata Road, and the likes, they've been going on. So, by October this year again, we're going to discuss the SLRA and the Ministry of Work. We'll get a new set of roads. We've not asked them to continue, we'll pay them. In the past, somebody just gets up, it goes down, they are taking tea or drinking somewhere in Presidential Lodge in McKinney and tells the president, I want to do this project. They say how much? They just go and give a number. Okay, just start. By the time you start, they ask for 5 billion. You know? So I realized, what is that? That was action past intention. No, so? Yes, spending without planning. That's what action past intention means. And when we act without intending, you have a problem where you have inherited. We they say intend before action. So you know, for next year, we will determine that we have 300 billion for roads or 200 billion for roads. Then we select the number of roads across the country within that portfolio. Because you're not only fixing roads. The electricity we are enjoying in Freetown is costing us so much. Because that's not the best strategy, but that's only circumstances the best we can have. We are now working on different arrangements, CLSG line, the Bopa, Kedema stations, including the lines, the villages along the Bopa Kedema highway, you know, up to Dodo, to Kanule Piama, to Blama. I know JS Kapala will be happy about this news. You know, we are doing all that one. While at the same time we improve electricity in Longe, Lonsa, and other places. Then of course we have an agenda to light all these 3 capital towns. But even if you bring electricity now in this country, everywhere, you generate now, you do not have the transmission lines, the networks. And no investor is interested in networks. They're interested in generating so that they can sell to you. So the networks is the first problem which we have to invest in as a government. By the time I get a network in bond, somebody will drop one megawatt of electricity out there and sell to government. The payment is another issue. Whether the people pay you the rent, the tariffs or the electricity bills, that's your own business. But you have to pay that to the company. Every week we have to give money to Car Power. Whether you pay your light bill or not, that's our own business. That's our own management issue. So these are the huge areas. The other area again is that, as I said, the debt servicing, if it's external debt, you have to use your limited foreign exchange to pay. So what they do, if you have to pay 20 billion, it's $2 million, the central bank will provide us $2 million, but they will debit our account. The central bank owes our reserves. So anytime government wants to do foreign expenditure, they will pay the dollar, but it's deducted from your CRF at the bank rate. So every money you get is used for debt servicing, used for salaries, is used for this. Then we also get the other figure I want to give you is that it's very uninteresting to tell you that the interest on our domestic debt accounts for nearly 50% of our capital budget. So half of what we spend on projects is used also to pay for debt. We are spending more on debt than education, than any single sector. That's very uninteresting. And the uninteresting thing, or the uninteresting thing about debt is not something you postpone. It's already fixed in the system. By the time it's 31st, your money is deducted. Like, can you go as you can, pap? You know when you have overdraft at the bank, no so? 1 million, they pay you 1 million. Pap, the bank don't cut them. We have instances of past APC ministers who were paid money, no so? We paid the money into their bank account. By the time some of them went to their bank account, half of the money was already gone. Some have still not been able to pay the balance. The other 50% we have to go to those same accounts. That is it. I mean, honest debts must be paid. So the same thing. Now that's on the fiscal side. The last variable I want to talk, when you put a stable economy is one where the deficit is reduced. And the normal amount, the deficit is measured by the difference between revenue and expenditure. You collect revenue, you spend money. What you collect should be more than what you spend. You have to either borrow or you rely on grant. If you cannot, you don't have the revenue to match your expenditure. But when you have a deficit, meaning your expenditure is greater than your revenue. And what's the percentage of it? How is that measured? It's measured by the deficit GDP ratio. 2017, the deficit GDP ratio was 8.8%. As of 2018 end December, the deficit was 5.8%. So by 2019, we expect it to drop to less than 5%, which is a very good convergence criteria. In just 1 year, we were able to drop deficit by 3 percentage points, by 8.8% to 5.8%. In economics, everything is indicator, and the indicators are standard. So when you talk about the past and today, these are the key indicators you have to look at: the revenue GDP ratio, the percentage of the budget financed by donors, financed by the government operations, your debt situations and the likes. Now, you have the external part of the economy. You have to go external because you have to import, you have to export, you have to rely on flows from outside. The inflows. What talk about how do we get foreign exchange? You get foreign exchange from which sources? From export, number one. Foreign exchange is gotten from export. That's the number one source of foreign exchange. So the foreign exchange is not manufactured in the Ministry of Finance, it's not manufactured in the central bank. The central bank's responsibility for foreign exchange is to come up with overall policy, not the central bank, the Ministry of Finance. And the overall policy for foreign exchange is a flexible exchange rate system determined by market forces of demand and supply. That is defined, it's not going to change. That's the policy arrangement we've agreed. We've tell and tested all types of foreign exchange regime. We are of the opinion the liberalized exchange rate management is the best, and that's what is used globally now. But the day-to-day management of our reserves, foreign exchange, is the business of the central bank. They keep our reserves, they manage our exchange rate. They do the auction, they do the what? They regulate the banks to see. Anytime we export, whatever comes, payment for royalties, if Futa pays us some dollars, it goes to our central bank account. So what the central bank will do, they just give us the leos, they keep the reserve. If Futa pays $2 million, for example, to government, the $2 million is sent to central bank. Central bank will give us the equivalent. When the IMF give us $20 million, the $20 million is kept by the central bank. They give us the equivalent, the leons. They have the leons, they have the dollar. The most painful part in the economic management is that you don't spend your own money when you want it. Somebody keeps your money. The Minister of Finance cannot just spend. You have a limit to which you can spend. The money they collect at NRA does not come to me, they go to the central bank. When you want to pay money for any overseas activity, what they do, the central bank send the dollar and debit our account, the Leone equivalent. So, on the export side, the export situation, we have struggled. Because over 70% of our export for the past 5 years on average is coming from the mining sector. And for the last 5 years, the mining sector. 2 years before, the year before we came, it was 80% was coming from iron ore. And the iron ore, major iron ore industries, we are then the African minerals, now the Shadok, the front Shadok. Then the Marampa mines, which became the Sierra mining now, SN mining. We inherited obnoxious agreements, ladies and gentlemen. Very obnoxious in every respect. The Rutai, the Vimetco, because we made them operating, you don't have much. Because if you say Rutai don't work now because your agreement is obnoxious, the job creating effect is far reaching. Also, the committee will rise against you because they don't understand anything, they just do the jobs. So okay, that's why we will negotiate them as we go along. But we have an opportunity for Shandog and SN mining. Shandog held our property and there was a provision for them to go into voluntary administration. The Honorable Minister of Mines yesterday was very articulate on that point. It's like, you have my house, you lock the door, you take the key, but you're not paying me the rent you're supposed to pay me. Then you can't tell me, say, I was not sleeping there. But you had the keys. I cannot get to my house. I cannot rent my house elsewhere. That's the case of what? And what they are telling us, they want to liquidate rather than we terminate. Liquidate means they will determine who to sell to. You have not paid me rent, then you want to leave my house now, but you determine who to sell to. Why not just leave my house and let me sell my house and rent my house for myself? But these are all part of the obnoxious agreements that we have. And definitely I will say without fear that those agreements were signed under pressure. People collected money. The current CLO mining asset mining agreement was signed at night, the eve of Parliament closure. Remember the time Parliament met up to 10 o'clock at night? When 10 agreements were passed? We are in this country. Say it, whether you are APC, SLP or NGC, say it. And they were passed on a certificate of urgency. No time for debate. December 2017, we had election in March. April, we are in. So they are not operated. Shadog decided not to operate. And we learned they don't even have capital to put into it. Mapa Mines was bought over by Frank Timmins. Frank Timmins sold it out to SL Mining. Now the issue is that SL Mining has started operating. They've got some stockpile of our oil. Yes. In a simple terms, the controversy we have with SL Mining, quite apart from the obnoxious provisions, is the fact that they have a stockpile, but they have a license to mine and process. But so no, I'm not ready for mining, I'm not ready for process. I don't want to process the stockpile first and sell them out. And the stockpile was over $60 million. And they have not invested up to 30 million even. So it's possible they want to sell that stockpile. And when they sell the stockpile, they cut away with $30 to $40 million, then they will look out for another buyer of the company. They don't play wayo. You know? If we are that cheap, we can just, because the agreement has been said, we just collect some money from them and allow them to do the stupid things as it used to be. They can easily bribe you $2-3 million, you share it among yourselves. But where will that take the nation from? Somebody was asking me a few days ago, said, no, that's stupid, you guys don't want to make money. You want me to mediate because you want to get commission somewhere? I said, no, mediate for what? Let's talk. I said, come on, man, brother, don't tell us you are not cheap. If you give us $1 million, we share it, $2 million. How much are you getting? Why is the nation losing? How long have we been doing that? So we just say, okay, let's stick to our guns for some time and see how we can push them. You know, over time, maybe we get there. We are very mindful about the implication, the litigation concern, but we should not act on fears. We will not fear God too much. Nobody's coming to take Sierra Leone away. It will starve us some investment in that area for some time. But it's better we get it right. Once they know our policies are clear, any new one that comes now will say, that one. The times in Botswana and other countries are very far better than Sierra Leone. So why not do it the right way? So because we are not getting the mining, the proceeds from the mining, we do not, because the supply side is the inflow side of the foreign exchange. That's what you need to generate money for you in the system. You don't have much of that. So it's one of the reasons for the depreciation. And the supply side is limited. The other supply side variable, which we have to understand, is the issue of loans and grant resources. And let me explain this. Loans, grants, and NGOs flows are quite substantial when it comes to foreign exchange flow under circumstances. They account for over 30% or thereabout of our current foreign exchange earnings with the closure of that. But what happens normally, most of these grants and the loans are given from the white guys from overseas. The month of July, August, September, they are on vacation. During that period, the disbursement slowed down. So they don't inject much foreign exchange to the system. Then, incidentally, in the month of July, we had this Hajj this year. Not the Hajj moves from time. This year, the Hajj came, and when they send 900 people out, see the amount of foreign exchange that they go with. People go with each man also. Quite apart from the tickets, what they will pay the money in dollars, in leones, who generate the dollars for them. Just to pay the loan, then we have to use our debt. So we are using our dollar to service our external debt, take care of our foreign missions. Then we also use that limited one. The other aspect again of the dollar, which we have to understand clearly, which could not be in the textbook and very unique to Sierra Leone, is the store of value. Almost every person in this country wants to hold dollar. Not only for speculation purpose, but it's easy to carry dollar. So the government is thinking about denominating our currency. But we have stock of currencies now, so maybe by next year. So what you have as 10,000 may be redenominated to value, the first value to look at 1,000. Like what Ghana did.
As not listen to the updates, but government business. And also today inside the press briefing where the Ministry of Information and Communication can get every Thursday, we will get the Minister of Finance, Jacob Jusu Saffa, as he can talk about the economy in the country. Me wake up with this program to na today. Me your name na Aisatu Smile. So we meet to another press briefing where the Ministry of Information and Communication can get every Thursday. I say tata.